Hey guys, let me explain to you why this potential global economic meltdown is less of a concern for those residing in Africa. More when I return on the Eric McNeil Be Free Show.
Black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
Hey guys, welcome. You've just discovered the Eric McNeil Be Free Show, where it's all about being financially independent, responsible for self, enjoying life, and empowering others. Free. Hey guys, listen, I know, it's been a minute since I made a video, but man, have I been busy. You talk about busy. There's just a lot going on behind the scenes, and not everything that I can really share with you guys. But I'm just hoping that things that we put in place we'll have an answer from the government soon. But it's like always a hurry up and wait thing. Hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait, hurry up and wait. And so we're expecting an answer from them soon with the event that we're hosting, and the rainy season is coming back soon. So, we're just hoping that we can pull everything off before the rains come back. But at any rate, this is what I want to talk to you today about. And it was just sparked by some stuff. I tell you guys, be on my Facebook, because there's a lot of stuff I post, even though I haven't been making videos. I've been posting on my Facebook like every day, and sometimes it's like articles that I get into because I can just, post those things quite easily. But at any rate, I made a post here on my Facebook page today. And it is just, I just be posting random stuff, and I tell people, don't take this stuff, take this stuff with a grain of salt. But I said, lately I've been posting about the potential death of the U.S. dollar. And let's see, like a few days ago, I posted that 5 Turkish banks adopt the Russian payment system to bypass the U.S. dollar. You get that? And I talked about how that when Russia first invaded the Ukraine, they priced their currency, the Russian ruble, it lost over like 40% of its value just immediately. And people was talking about the Russian economy is doomed, boy. After they went in Ukraine, and U.S. putting these sanctions on them, and the West putting these sanctions on it, and then over the next few weeks, the Russian ruble did an about face and started gaining value against the U.S. dollar and the other currencies. Why? Because Russia is the largest country on Earth by land mass, and Russia has a lot of natural resources. The Russian people are very self-sufficient, and basically they have food, they have gold, they have oil. And so what they told the West, who depend on their natural gas and their oil and their natural resources, they say, hey, you got to buy those using the Russian ruble. You can't use any other currencies anymore. So the same thing that the U.S. did with oil, that's what they call it, the petrodollar, is they demanded countries, if they want to buy oil, they had to do it with the U.S. dollar. Well, Russia took a page from that book and said, hey, you want to buy our stuff? You got to do it in the Russian ruble. So their currency started going up because Europe said, whoa, wait a minute. We need that natural gas. And they were like, sorry, U.S., we need this natural gas from Russia. We need to buy this stuff. And so the Russian ruble just started taking off like a rocket. Whoosh, so everybody was amazed. Now, unlike, when Gaddafi tried to create a dinar, that was backed by Africa's assets, and he got himself dealt with, right? Because Africa wasn't strong enough to pull that off, but Russia and the BRICS nations are leading this effort, and what could the U.S. do, besides try to squeeze them out another way, because you can't just go in there and I guess, assassinate Putin is probably, not as easy. You going in and assassinating, Gaddafi. But at any rate, so I talked about that the Russians are, basically, and the BRICS nations are forming their own monetary system. And then today, I posted, I said every time Pink Floyd releases an album, the stock market crashes. And Pink Floyd is releasing an album in September. So just random stuff, you see. So at any rate, and that's not financial advice. That's just some, from my research. I just be coming across stuff, and I want to share it because it's just interesting to me that But anyway, this information was actually based on a 2001 article that business newspaper had written about Pink Floyd, and says that apparently 12 times Pink Floyd has released an album. The stock market has taken a dive. And they went through and listed some of them, like Saucerful of Secrets released. The Dow Jones slumped by 6%. Guma released another slump. Dark Side of the Moon released. The Dow hits a 12-year low. A Momentary Lapse of Reason released 6 weeks later. Black Monday in October 1987. The Wall Live was released and the NASDAQ collapsed. Go picture that. But yeah, so they're releasing like an album. I don't know what's going to happen. I mean, I look at the charts and it doesn't look like there's going to be a crash, but I'm just sharing. At any rate, so my point is that I put that out, and one of my Facebook friends, she had made the comment that did they release it, pre-release it in Ghana, because things are not looking good. Their credit rating was downgraded yesterday, and the city continues to lose value, and inflation is on the rise. So at any rate, she's right. And here's the thing that I want to share with you, and I'm going to tell you why that's less of a concern than it is with things happening in the West. See, and I keep making this point that, at the end of the day, the world's economy is underpinned by the US dollar. So all of the economies are pretty much going to collapse. That's just how it is, right? Because the world banks, their central banks, along with Ghana's as well, has a lot of US dollars in those banks. So they're going to experience hyperinflation before it begins to run amok in the US and the more established, the more developed countries are going to fall last, but the developing countries, who depend on the US dollar, they're going to begin to feel the crunch, way before the US feels it. And that's just how it goes. But here's the thing, people say, well, Eric, if this is the case, why are you promoting and telling people to move to like Africa and specifically Ghana? You're selling real estate there. If everybody's going to collapse, because their reason is that, well, I'd rather be in the West if it collapses versus being in Africa. And I said, well, here's the thing, and I keep trying to make people understand this, is that it's not going to be a big deal in Africa Africa is probably one of the safest places you can be during this economic downturn. Probably the only other the safest place you can be than Africa is probably Oceania, which is, you know, like Australia, New Zealand, things like that. But next to them, Africa is the safest place. And I'll tell you why. It's because those areas have the least amount of urbanization, right? You have, let's see, Oceania has 25% urbanization. That means roughly 75% of its population lives in a rural area. And Africa has 43% urbanization. So, you know, that essentially means that 57% of its population live in rural areas. And what that means is that essentially, you know, the people living in rural areas are usually more self-sufficient, right? There are people living in villages and things like that. So they don't give a flying, you know what, about your systems and, you know, and all those things. They self-sufficient. They can live without electricity. They can live without, you know, the automobiles and a lot of these things that if you're living in a developed country and you're living in an urban area, you can't live without electricity, right? You need the power grid to be up. Most of your society is based on that. You can't go, you know, these people in the village, you know, ain't no electricity. They just break out the gas, the stove, you know, and start cooking, you know. Even if they don't have gas, they can still cook with wood, charcoal. They go into the woods and chop down some trees and make some charcoal or use some wood or whatever. They, you know, but they are not solely dependent on your systems like you are in the U.S. Now, let's take you know, this and look at the urbanization in the West, you know, leading with North America. North America has an 82% urbanization rate. Do you hear me? The highest in the world is North America. That means less than 18% of its people live in rural area. So you're basically saying, you know, 18% of your people are self-sufficient. Do you understand what I'm telling you right now? Now let's take a look at that when the stock market collapsed, you know, 29, so the great, you know, recession back then happened, or the, you know, depression, Great Depression, 1929 or so. Its urbanization rate was kind of looked like Africa now. A lot of people in America at that point were self-sufficient. So when the stock market collapsed, they were able to go back to their homes and work on the farms and things like that. If it collapses now, there are no farms that you can't go back to your family farm, right? And you know, and it doesn't matter if there's land there, because you can't grow a farm overnight. That has to be something that's going on and being maintained. You hear what I'm saying? So if a collapse happened, then where are you going to go to, right? Yeah, just imagine, you know, all those millions and millions of people in places like New York, and there's a collapse. Man, do you understand the magnitude of that? You have over 8 million people who can't eat, and they say, oh, there's some kind of catastrophe, and they can't get food to New York. You know, man, the food is not grown. You know, the majority that food isn't grown in New York. You know, food got to come from, I don't know, Texas Food got to come from California. And people tell you, no, we can't get no trucks here in New York. Power grid down and the snowstorm, preventing us from getting trucks through. And 8 million people starving. Man, you got a problem on your hands. Do you understand what I'm saying? There ain't no farms around you in New York City. Yep. No sirree. So this is why I say, if there's a global economic downturn, like, the economy just falls off a cliff, then the U.S. is in the eye of the storm. And one of the safest places you can be is in Africa, and have an investment in Africa. And here in Africa, everybody is growing something. I'm telling you, everybody's growing something. One of the prevailing principles of our community at Migrating Culture Crossing is that we are a sustainable, self-sufficient community with a food-first ethos, So in the community, we have an organic food forest, and around the houses, there's an edible landscaping being planted. So everything is intentional. Like, you won't see us planting something that's just there. It has to be edible or medicinal. So there's a purpose, and that's the way I believe things were intended to be. Now, I'm gonna show you some pictures here. I'm gonna put up the pictures that you can see here. And this is some corn that we recently harvested. And so basically, Brandon is going to dry it. So he wanted to lift it off the ground. But you see this? This came off our land, So this is what I talk about when I say a food forest, So we're harvesting corn off the land. And this is what it's all about, guys. When there's an economic breakdown, the thing that's the most important, food, shelter, and clothing. There you go. And what we see happening is that the powers that be are moving the wealth from the west to the east. Now, the primary recipient of that wealth is Asia. But because Africa is also part of the East, it is receiving a lot of that wealth also. That's why you have a lot of development happening in Africa, because the powers that be are moving a lot of assets over into Africa. Man, you have in Ghana world-class hospitals being set up. Why do you think that is? Yeah. Being set up by people that are affiliated with power brokers from the U.S., the political power brokers. They're setting up world-class facilities. Do you think they know something that you don't know? Why aren't they setting up those world-class facilities in the U.S.? Ask yourself, what's going on? Why are developers building entire communities that, you don't see the houses sold yet, but why are they doing it? What's coming what do they know that you don't know? What did China know to make China go and set up like over 50 cities? They're ghost cities. They don't even have people living there now. 50 of these things, large cities. What do they know that you don't know? Are they just that dumb? They let's just build a whole city. No, they know sooner or later some people are going to need a place to stay, and they coming here to stay. Man, they must feel mighty sure of themselves to go build 50 cities. Okay. They know something's coming down. They know people are coming to stay there sooner or later. And they know those people are going to come from the West. because you're going to be trying to scramble to get out of there. So if you have money and fun, then you're going to be looking for a place to relocate to. So again, I'm telling you, this is why Africa is one of the safest places you can be, because it's still self-sufficient. A lot of the people are still self-sufficient, right? Over 50% of the people are still self-sufficient. You can live close, and if you drive around Ghana, you see fruit trees, right? You be homeless and just go get me some fruit. Climb up this tree on the side of the road, give me a coconut. Go over here and get me an orange. Go over there and get me a pawpaw. I'm good. You see what I'm saying? Now you drive down urban America. Drive down New York City. Do you see any fruit trees? Yeah. Actually, do you see any trees? Let alone fruit trees. Let alone seeing food growing. Do you even see trees? No. Now, when I was young and growing up in Mobile, Alabama, man, in our community, we had fruit trees. People had food. Why is it systematically? They're almost like systematically taking away your ability to grow your own food. Nowadays, you try to grow a fruit tree in your yard, the city liable to come cut it down. Say, that thing spread diseases. You can't grow no fruit tree. Huh? Yeah, I had a friend here tell him that's what they did to his orange tree. Say when he was away, the city came and cut his, in Florida. They came and cut his orange tree down. Say, it had a disease. He said, man, my tree ain't have no disease, but that's what they're doing. So nowadays, you drive down any U.S. city, you don't see no fruit trees growing. Here, you just see it all over, fruit trees just growing all over. Telling you guys, this is why Ghana is the place to be. So don't get caught up in this whole, the Ghanaian city is dropping in value against the U.S. dollar and other basket of currencies, and it's going to continue to happen as the country goes into hyperinflation, perhaps, and other countries are going to also suffer the same fate. This is just a sign of the times, because it shows you that the U.S. dollar is coming apart at the seams. So the first place you're going to see it is with the currencies of the smaller countries. Right? So this is what you're experiencing. But here's the deal. You need to be able to go for about the next 5 years. I told you between now and 2030, anything is liable to happen. So you need to be able to survive via other means. Until then, but there's going to be a new system set in place that's going to relieve you, but while that is happening, you need to be self-sufficient, right? Because everything's going to be falling apart between now and then. And so you need a plan in place to be self-sufficient and make it for next, however many years. And the thing is, the African countries will easily bounce back from this, because what's going to happen is that they're just going to embrace the next system. That's all. Whoever the king of the hill from all of this this economic warfare that's going on, whoever wins the war, the African countries will pretty much work with whomever. Simple as that. They'll jump on the next train. But now, the U.S. dollar, it is the train. So they don't win. Whose train do they jump on? You see that? So you imagine you king of a country, and you king, I don't know, Sam, and here come King Chung invading your country. King Chung is outmaneuvering you, outpowering you, King Chung looked like he putting up a good fight against your people. So now what do you do if you the average person and you under King Sam, The average person just say, well, hey, I'm just, I'm not part of this. King Chong said, well, you better pay me some tax money. Give me some homage. Get on your knees and, I'm your new king now, okay? I pay, whoever the king is, then the people just gonna, peons, they just gonna pay. They don't care who the king is. They don't really like none of them, but they just gonna pay whomever. Now, but if you the king, you don't really have that option, do you? King Chong come across your borders, and King Chong tell you, you better pay me some tax money. You be like, damn, I am the king over here, paying you nothing. Then you're gonna be dealt with. And so, so you in kind of a funny position, right? All the other people, they just pay the new king, jump on board with a new program. But if you are the king, you can't get on board with no new program. That's the predicament that America finds herself in today. She is the country is the king of the hill. So what do you do when you're being threatened? You got to fight to the death, right? There you go. And you may lose. There you go. All right. So you see the precarious position that America finds itself in is that the country has been invaded, through economic warfare, and things aren't looking good. The BRICS nations are on hot pursuit. They have a plan, and the plan, is looking like it's going to be pretty bad for the U.S. because the BRICS nations have clearly thought this out very well. And they have gotten the U.S. in a very precarious position. Very precarious. I mean, the U.S. have offloaded all of its manufacturing facilities to the east. A lot of its food production is being done overseas, and they really don't have anything to offer to the world, and the only thing that was keeping them afloat is them forcing people to purchase oil using the US dollar, aka petrodollar. Now that you have the BRICS nations who are allowing people to purchase and do trade agreements to bypass the US dollar, what is it that will continue to encourage countries to hold the US dollar in their reserves, in their central banks? Not much. I mean, if I'm over a central bank and I've traditionally held maybe 40% of my reserves in the US dollar because I needed to buy oil and settle it in US dollars, and now Russia, Lord forbid, Saudi Arabia wakes up and say, well, you can pay us in another currency. Man, do you understand the predicament that creates for the US dollar? All those dollars then come flowing back to the US because there are more dollars on the outside of the US than the inside. And the only thing that has held up the US economy has been them convincing the world central banks to continue to invest in the US dollar, treasury bonds. But if those banks wake up and say, nah, we don't really need the US dollar no more. We're gonna go ahead and buy something from America. Maybe we're gonna buy a piece of your land, but we ain't gonna really be invested in no US dollar. Man, do you know that's a death knell for America? Because now all the land in America is gonna be sold to foreigners. And they ain't gonna be investing no more. I mean, can you imagine China just, going ahead and saying, hey, well, we're just gonna buy a large portion of the US economy. Now we own it, and we ain't gonna really invest in your country. We're just gonna slowly kill it. Yeah, that's what's coming. That's what's coming. Count on it. All right, so anyway, I just wanted to share that with you. It's always something interesting, you know. I just find to be just fascinating what I see happening. We're living in a watershed at the moment. These things that are happening are like watershed events. Man, you're just seeing history right now. This time that we're living in, man, is very, very relevant to world events, and they're gonna write about this stuff. You're living in it. You're living in it, for better or for worse. All right, if you like what we're talking about, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, like, share, comment. Give me your feedback. Tell me what you think about some of this stuff and how you see it. You know, if you haven't already done so, go ahead, hit our website, www.migratingculturecrossing.com, and be sure to take advantage of our half-price home promo, where you're able to purchase a home 50% off when you pay it up front and you wait 3 years for delivery. You can also find me on my Facebook at facebook.com/Eric McNeil. It's free. And as always, hoorah, ahoo, now be free.